Record your short video, no more than 90 seconds, on why you love your favorite book, what made you excited, or what made you laugh. There are lots of fabulous prizes. Too many to talk about now. For further information and sign up, go to Rotary Central Cayman Islands Facebook page or email david.rotarycentral@gmail.com. Record your book report video and send it by March 31st. So easy, so fun. The Rotary Central Cayman Islands Video Book Report Competition. Rotary serves to change lives.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a great week. I think all of my staff would agree that when DJ Lynn sits on the other side, we're going to say a special hello because not only like all of the wonderful team, we want to wish Miss Susan a very special happy birthday today. She enjoys it, and we invite you to be a part of what is going to be another lively, engaging, informative, educational, and entertaining Talk Today as we have a wonderful guest. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow, Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. And maybe one of my first strokes of the pen as governor is going to make Fridays an official, day where we all go to the beach and celebrate. It'll be a fun Friday. And maybe just start that off. Why not celebrate the Friday with a good friend and colleague, Miss Susan P. Watson, as she celebrates her birthday. So DJ Lane, whether you can cue up the background music or whether you can hum in the background to help us to make, that joyful noise ever more embarrassing for Miss Susan as we, publicly acknowledge her birthday. If Joel Wilson can do it, so can we. Right, DJ Lynn?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, he says. So, we have an excellent friend and guest in the studio, Ms. Stephanie Dos Santos, and we're going to get into a very engaging discussion about collective consciousness. But good afternoon to you, Ms. Stephanie. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm good. How about you?
Listen, I am truly grateful, want to be gracious. I am blessed without question, and to be surrounded by good friends, to have excellent colleagues who not only have my back, but help me to look and sound as best as possible. And that's probably a challenge at times. Would you join me in showing our love and our support and our well wishes to Susan as she celebrates her birthday?
I'll be delighted.
All right. We could try it in English. We could even try it in Spanish. Some of us have a penchant for other languages. But, maybe in French would sound good,
I can do it in French.
You can do it in French?
Yeah.
If DJ Lynn approves, we can do it in French?
Let's
go. So he's going to join us, right? So
okay.
For Susan, if your friends and family are embarrassed, well, Trust me. You should know by now, working with us, this is what happens. Ready, DJ Gillian? Let's go. All right. So happy birthday in French to Susan. Lead us, Miss Stephanie.
Joyeux anniversaire, joyeux anniversaire, joyeux anniversaire, Suzanne, joyeux anniversaire. Yay!
And with that, there are no complaints from off-rig. Our listeners are still tuned in. And for someone, they're probably just rolling in laughter at this boy's attempt at humor. But this is what makes this such a beautiful place, right? We meet and interact and engage with so many people from different walks of life who have the same penchant for love, who appreciate it. So thank you for accepting this invitation. Thank you for playing along with us. There are no prizes today. It's just the gift of life and the joy that life brings to all of us. So Susan, honestly, hope you're having a wonderful day and a very special birthday. I don't do that publicly for many people but Susan is like probably the most public person in this entire country that is the most private. So
now she's been exposed fully.
Yeah. We've introduced her to all and sundry.
Yeah.
But even that fits into our discussion today with this whole idea of consciousness and how somewhat from the simple sort of dictionary definition of the word conscious, are you aware of this thing? Are you conscious? If the physician sees a person who has maybe suffered something, are they breathing and conscious?
Yeah, because the first human needs, it's closeness and connection.
Closeness and connection.
Yeah. We are the most interdependent species on the planet.
More so than, we look at the wolf pack, we look at other animals in nature, and ants probably one of the most fascinating, the way they work together. One is separated and the others seem to seek, and then they work in unison. But the little I understand about bees, there is the queen bee who says, hey guys, get this done, and she sits there on her throne. But the ant will work collectively, communicating. But the human.
Any species, yeah. Well, let's dive into it, okay?
Let's dive into it. Why not? I mean, it's a Friday.
Yeah, let's go for it. So, when we get born, we get born whole. But that state does not last. It does not last because we get born relationally dependent in families that are not fully evolved yet, because society is not fully evolved yet. What I mean by that, we haven't reached that level of consciousness yet, when we understand that if I'm hurting you, I'm hurting me. So what will happen, that state is not going to last, because very early on, the child is going to realize that parts of who he is are acceptable and some that are not.
Okay.
So in order to survive, to keep receiving love and being validated, the child is going to reject this aspect of himself that makes him unique. And with that is going to take birth in the mind, in the unconscious mind, some behavioral strategies in order to keep receiving that validation and that love.
Okay. So when we look at parents and children, the mother and father and the children, acceptance and rejection and the like. And you shared earlier that we're interconnected, probably the most interconnected species.
Relationally dependent. So our survival depends on one another.
So that, yet it seems that amongst people, we are divisive. We're almost intent on destroying one another through war, through acts of just things that divide, even through our words. We malign, we castigate, without recognizing that this person, is someone that you probably need or will need much sooner than you actually expect and appreciate.
Yeah. So I'm not sure I understand.
Okay. So with that, sorry. So I was just thinking from what you shared, even though we understand the interdependence, and appreciate the need for many of us, to interact with someone, that physical connection. I guess most people, if not everyone, want to feel a sense of love and
belonging.
Belonging.
Absolutely.
And you put this person aside sometimes. Like the tree, the plant, the flower that isn't watered and given sunshine, they'll wilt and eventually fade. How do we get people to appreciate that it's okay to be independent and driven, but your actions...
Yeah, so regarding independence, this is the paradox there where we say to kids, you have to be independent, you know? Mm-hmm. But very often we go on to the extreme. It's like, oh, I'm independent, I don't need anyone. Mm-hmm. And this is where it causes trouble, because you actually do need people. Mm-hmm. It's just basic line. So it's either you can own your own needs and just realize what are your needs, what are your boundaries. Your boundaries is nothing more than what you like, what you don't like, you know, in relation to the world. But if you don't know if your needs are not met, you know, you actually start feeling unsafe.
In any environment, any relationship.
Any relation, even with self to start with. If your needs are not met, you're going to start feeling unsafe. And this is how we're going to unconsciously go and manipulate through behaviors and like through words and so on in order to have these needs met. And that's why, like, if we don't accept that, if we don't really realize what are our needs, and we can actually like come and end up like talking to someone because, okay, I need to keep in a relationship with this one because I might need that person in the future. Yeah. Which is actually, you know, like, is it really necessary, you know, to actually keep someone just because, you know, you can need it in the future?
So we then have phrases like no person is an island, right? So that we understand that they strive to be independent, but yet we appreciate, as you said, there's an interrelational dynamic. Then we have friends and family that we will say, not in a complimentary way, oh, that person is a high maintenance, you know, because we're making this consistent effort in our mind and our action to maintain that relationship. Is it then because we are afraid that to sever that or to pull back will offend the person, or will deny ourselves something that later on we might need?
Well, talking about relationship, I think it's fair to say that everyone rushes in relationships. We usually, I will say consciously, dismiss red flags. And this is why we end up like in relationships that are not fulfilling, and that by fear of being alone, we're going to do everything that is possible to try to maintain something that is not viable if you stop putting any effort into it. It
should be natural and without...
it should be natural. But you see, if when we meet someone, instead of just like jumping into a relationship, we really get to understand, okay, what is this person all about? Because even like for a relationship, you need more than love. You need compatibility as well.
Wait a minute, you need more than love?
Yeah, you need love, and then there's also this other component, which is compatibility.
Wow.
So, yeah.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, you mentioned boundaries. Let's explore that. You know, what is a boundary? Let's talk about some of the other things. And as we get into this discussion, I'm hopeful that many of us will start to appreciate the importance of looking at ourselves, that self sort of reflection and introspection, but also look at our relationships with our parents, with our spouses, with our children, with our friends, with our co-workers, and appreciate from what you're sharing that dynamic that would make us healthier, better, safer, because our needs are being met. All right, with that, if you'd allow us, as we said, happy birthday to Miss Susan at the outset.
Joyeux anniversaire, Suzanne.
Well, Miss Elizabeth, what a company. Let's say a special hello and shout out to her and the team over there, but especially to you. All right, DJ Lynn, let's pause and take a break, and I'm going to see if I can sing a little bit better, a little bit louder and a little bit longer. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
You see how hard it's raining?
Yeah, and I don't have time to fight traffic and get my lunch from Subway. I have so much work to do.
Why don't you order Subway by using the Let's Eat or Bento app? Save time, stay dry, and get your sandwich fast.
I never thought of that. Great idea. I'm going to order now.
Order me a veggie pizza while you're at it.
And a cookie platter for the office.
Too busy at work or home? Is the rainy weather stopping you from dining out? Order your favorite Subway sandwich, wrap, or pizza through the Let's Eat or Bento app with fast and reliable delivery. Subway, eat fresh.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
JN Money. Money touchdown. Send the money now. Reach wow. You say you need some money. JN Money, I can send it in a hurry. Get through quick when you come collect your cash or use your money card and swipe it in a flash. Send funds to any bank? Yeah. Pay your bills quick? Yeah. Low fees, you know what it? Yeah. JN Money, we are pick? Yeah. Send and receive funds at any JN Money location. It's fast, affordable, and convenient. Money touchdown with JN Money. Send funds to any bank? Yeah. Pay your bills quick? Yeah. Low fees, you know what it? Yeah. JN Money, we are pick? Yeah.
Call 345-945-2014 for details. Available at JN Money locations across the Cayman Islands.
As seniors, we owe it to each other to stay safe and healthy through this pandemic. Let's make sure that our COVID-19 vaccinations are up to date, including getting boosters, and be aware of your surroundings so that we can manage the conditions that make us more vulnerable. Remember, we're in this together, so do your part. Get boosted. You can visit www.gov.ky/coronavirus to learn some more.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Talk today. Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back, and thanks for joining us as we invite you to be a part of our discussion. And we're talking to Stephanie Dos Santos, and I look at the idea of collective consciousness as we speak to the issue, and sometimes, maybe more importantly now than ever, given all that is sort of unfolding in the world, even in our own sort of private spaces, our personal concerns relative to our families, our finances. Are we looking at the global landscape? And that interconnectedness that we share, the impact of this thing trickles down and affects this thing so far away.
Yeah.
In asking of that, though, is it that we are deliberately sometimes ignoring the impact of our actions on others?
Yes, most of the time we're on autopilot. We're not even aware of it because of the conditionings.
Okay.
So the parts that we just talked before, that we disowned, we reject, we deny, and we disown in order to be accepted by family, society, and so on. They are those very parts that makes us unique.
Okay.
So we're going to, it's kind of like a part of your consciousness gets trapped into that past, when you realize that, I can't be that. That part of me can't be expressed. So then it's going to come from an energy of lack. And this is like nothing really can grow positive, right, if it's from lack, because you end up like using things for your own interest and dismissing the other person's best interest. When love is really being able to see the other person's best interest as part of yours. It's like if I help you success, I get the benefits of it as well, right? So Basically it's about going back to our own traumas, and the way we can observe how much we've been traumatized in some ways, it's by assessing and realizing the triggers. Because the triggers, a trigger is basically an emotional flashback. So it's really to get your attention onto something that hasn't been resolved in the past.
Okay. And the word trauma, I mean, increasingly we're starting to see that. We even seen in the last few years the way people are responding to information, to their environment, to the expectations, but sometimes to the mandates, those things by which law has now required people. They're almost as if they're going through some sort of traumatic experience.
Yeah, I think this is just consequences of how we've been going for way longer than just today.
Okay.
I mean, it's just my perception, right? But on a quick bracket, regarding the topic, to my opinion, that war is a physical manifestation on how the collectiveness is going. Because if you break it down to the quantum field and even to each individual, we are at war within ourselves each day.
That turmoil, the wrestle.
Yeah, because there's that dilemma, that inner war inside. It's like there's one part of me that wants this and the other part that does not.
So let me then ask then, some of us consciously take courses, lessons, instruction to self-develop, and maybe even part of our careers as an expectation that we do continue professional education, that we participate in certain things. Others because we want to, and I used to use the word, I'm trying to substitute it now, improve. We want to be the better self that we can be. With that in mind, that introspection, that self-reflection, how did you get, if I may ask, to where you are now with respect to psychology and the space and place in which you occupy? How did you get there?
Well, it's with challenges in life. I mean, there's a few different aspects to that question, but it's realizing that if you keep repeating challenging situations or keep attracting similar type of people, the common factor between all of these people or all these situations, it's me. So at some point, it's about stepping away from, I'm not lucky with that, or again, and saying, okay, what is it in me that has attracted that? And this is where you actually have to be bluntly honest with yourself, and it is challenging, because this is how you realize that parts of who you think you are, parts of your personality, it was just actually protective personality that occur when we experience a trauma. So if, for example, my needs were not met when I was at home, and I grew up where love was conditional, not allowed to be heard and to be seen. So it's so when I ask, to be heard to my parents, it's like, hey, I have something to say, and I've been shut down all the time. There's going to be a split that is going to be happening in me, and this is where the trauma occurs. So we feel like the need is not met, we feel powerless, we can't resolve the problem, but what we don't acknowledge is that we keep going on with a piece of our consciousness that stays stuck there. So where was I going with that?
So that experience, even from our childhood, the interaction with our siblings, with our parents, informed our consciousness and...
Absolutely. Oh, yeah, that's it. So then afterwards, there's going to be that split, and there's going to be a part of me that is like, hey, listen to me. Listen. I want your attention. I want your love. I want your validation. And there's going to be another side where it's going to be, you know what? I don't need anyone. I don't need anyone. I'm independent. And I went through life thinking, I'm independent. I don't need anyone. I make my own money. I just have my house. I do my own thing. I don't need anyone. When the truth is, I thought that was part of my personality. And then when you start really checking what you consider as part of your personality, it can be actually quite frightening, because you realize that you're not this, you're not that, you're not that. And that was okay, to realize. But first it was like, okay, does it mean that I'm not independent? And this is where you have to nuance notions as well. Yes, I'm independent. And yes, I am also dependent. I do need my soul tribe. I do need connection. I do need people. I do need to feel safe in opening in vulnerability with my people.
I wrote down the word vulnerability just maybe 2 seconds ago. But isn't that the challenge? That we open ourselves up, we feel vulnerable, and then we feel as if when we are vulnerable, people can take advantage of us. So we put up walls. We do things to protect ourselves.
Yeah, but you see, the protective things, it's coping mechanisms, and it goes back down to how you grew up.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a world where everyone is coping. Coping, it's, lots of people say, oh, it's great, how do you cope? I mean, coping has its place, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it depends. Do you want to go through life coping or healing? Because there's a big difference there.
So what is a coping mechanism? We hear it a lot. Often we see people exercise. They'll run, 10 miles. They may drink or eat certain things. They do things because it helps them. So what is a coping mechanism?
Well, coping by definition, it's bringing a physical and emotional change to a stressor, to a situation that we feel powerless to change. So instead of changing the situation or going away from the situation, we're going to stay there and find a way to feel less pain into that pain.
Okay. So by doing, like, for instance, the people who may think that in a very conscious, consistent, concerted exercise regime is good, they'll do that to cope with whatever pain, whatever.
Well, I can't be talking for, it's really case by case, really, that we have to observe that. But the most common coping mechanism for the human brain is going to be fragmentation.
Okay.
So it's the example that I took just before, like when, for example, you've got this kid that she wants a mom, she wants the attention of a mom because she's working so much. And the kid is going to get angry and she's going to say, Mom, you never spend time with me. And the mom is going to say, are you serious? All the time that I have, I spend it with you. How can you be so ungrateful? So what's going to be happening in the child's mind is going to be a split, a fragmentation, where it's like, oh, I need my mom's attention. When I express it to her, because doesn't understand what anger is or just a way of expressing it. If I express it, I'm not receiving love. And I'm actually becoming I'm being judged like ungrateful. So there's going to be one, that split where a side of him will be like, yeah, hey, Mom, I want your attention, I want your love, I want to spend time with you. And there's going to be the other side where it's going to be, well, don't ask for it, because if you are you're ungrateful if you ask for it. I don't know if it's really clear. Yeah,
no, I see. And then as you were sharing that, and we are speaking to Stephanie Dos Santos. If anyone wants to join us, the phone lines are open. We'll take your calls. 949-8037. We're toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. This idea of collective consciousness, though, and we go back to many times of our childhood, our interactions with our parents. We say sometimes that let's use it in a young girl primarily. If she isn't getting the love and attention of home, she may find it in this fella. The behavior that she will see is exhibited in this one.
Yeah, because it's with the unconscious desire to rewrite the outcome that you didn't have with your parent.
Okay. Is it then that one parent, the mother, will provide something and the father something else? Is it that the rejection comes from one? How is our relationship with relative to the mother and the father and the children?
So it's interesting. You see, I wrote that book, Heal Your Wounds and and Find Your True Self. So this is a great book by Lise Bourbeau.
No, it's good, yeah. And we're speaking to Ms. Stephanie Dos Santos.
Thank you. So that great book from Lise Bourbeau, I'm not getting any loyalties or anything with that book. It's just really because it helps tremendously, even on the coaching, understanding the wounds that we carry. So there are 5 wounds that exist: rejection, abandonment, humiliation, betrayal, and injustice.
Injustice.
So each wound is very specific and goes actually with a very particular body type. So you can tell looking at me that I'm carrying the wound of rejection and the wound of abandonment because my body is really thin. I can lose weight like very quickly as well, so it's all like characteristic of people that wears the wound of rejection. And with each wound comes a mask that we're going to put and wear in society. So with the wound of rejection, it's the mask of withdrawal. So basically when it's going to be a little bit more deep in relationship, we're going to unconsciously fear the pain attached to the potential rejection that could occur in the future. And this is how we display self-sabotage behaviors in relationships.
All right. So when we come back from this break, maybe those 5 wounds that you talk about and the body types, for some of us, we probably don't see it, and we may see that, this person is prone to this and they eat that and so on. So it all goes back to the collective consciousness and the idea.
Absolutely, because All right, let's explore that. We're going to continue our discussion with Ms. Stephanie Dos Santos, Collective Consciousness. And as we go out, well, here's a special treat again from Ms. Susan.
Busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Groundwater is invisible, but its impact is visible everywhere. Groundwater is a significant part of available fresh water in the world. What we do on the surface matters underground. On March 22nd, join the Water Authority in commemorating World Water Day by playing your part in protecting groundwater. Here are some simple but important steps you can take every day. Put your household waste in the garbage for collection by the Department of Environmental Health. Do not dump vehicle fluids or industrial waste, but dispose of them properly. Limit your use of pesticides and fertilizers, or don't use these products at all. Do not use storm drains to dispose of waste. Maintain your wastewater treatment system. Let's make our groundwater go from being invisible to visible this World Water Day.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us as we invite you to be a part of our discussion. Certainly give us a shout, 949-8037. Toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. We're talking about collective consciousness, Stephanie Dos Santos is our guest. And as I was looking at some of our notes and I'm thinking, what are people listening? What are they thinking and feeling? Because many times we are reluctant, maybe fearful, to face the man in the mirror or the woman in the mirror, that reflection.
Yes, because we got told that some emotions that we put on the negative spectrum are not acceptable or valid. So it's like for anger, for example, like society condemn anger because it is a fact that the display of anger in the world is extremely violent and hurtful for self and others. When actually anger can be expressed in a healthy way and also say something very important about your boundaries. So anger is basically an emotion that comes up when one of your boundaries is about or has been violated. That's why we get this burst of energy. You know, we feel like we're pushing the threat away. We're claiming our power back. But if we feel like we're claiming our power back, it's because we have a sense of powerlessness in the first place. And this is valid. Then afterwards, it's about telling kids and humans in general, right? The healthy way. It's like, okay, you're angry. Let's express that in a healthy way that is going to be safe for you and for others. So what I do, I usually go in the car and scream, you know, it works really well and you feel at peace within yourself very quickly. And then you can start addressing the core of the issue.
But even that, I mean, maybe going in the car and screaming, a coping mechanism?
No, it's a way of expressing and allowing anger to go through you, to be expressed. That's why, you know, most people actually end up expressing anger the way we see it. It's because it's all bottled up. But, I mean, if it's not expressed, it stays within you, even if we think, oh, that's okay, I've processed it.
So if I may ask, then, two things then. Let's use that expression of anger. We probably would choose a space away from people where we can shout and scream, but they don't hear. So in the car, as opposed to maybe in our house or amongst people. Is that then because consciously we are cognizant that people hearing that? So we're at home, we're in our backyard, and we scream louder. Our neighbors and others go, oh, what's going on there? Is someone hurt? Is someone being hurt? Is it, you know, is that...
Well, you might not want to scare your neighbors as well, right?
True.
Because I did that when I lived in Australia. Actually, I just could not keep it in, and I start screaming, and I had the neighbors coming in, and you don't want to scare people off, you know, like. But if it happens, then you can just reassure. It's like, oh, sorry, I just needed to.
Event, you need to.
Yeah.
Okay. Literally, you're getting that thing.
Absolutely. Well, if you get in touch with yourself, because this is part of the problem as well, is that we've been losing touch with how we feel truly.
But even trying to deliberately get in touch with yourself to appreciate that something isn't right. So maybe as an example, that would be easier for people to appreciate. You're not feeling well, you've ignored it for the longest time. You finally either been forced by family and friends, or the thing has transpired. You're going to a physician to look at that thing that has been bothering you, or to get it checked out, usually long after. And it's only at that point that we do it, so we get in touch. But then from the emotional side, very few of us would consciously trying to figure out what's going on within us, whether talking to the psychologist or you know, the counselor and the like.
Well, the thing is, I truly believe that the body is going to manifest any misalignment with your true self. So, like, the body is the soul projecting itself physically.
Okay.
The mind is going to be your soul projecting itself mentally, and your emotion is going to be the soul consciously perceiving.
Okay.
So that's why, like, all any emotion that we qualify as negative, if we don't address them, we're going to keep being triggered until we accept that part of ourselves that we reject. You see, it comes back then to embracing all aspects of who we are, including all the things that we have disowned and put under the rug.
But then
because the body afterwards is going to each organs. Okay, so you are your own consciousness, Sterling, with the name of Sterling. But what we don't acknowledge is that each part of your body has its own consciousness as well. So you see, that's, I mean, to my opinion, it's also why, like cancer treatment failed, it's because we kind of failed addressing the consciousness of each organ. So if you understand that the lungs connects to relationships, then you can address, okay, what are the type of relationship you had growing up? Well, is your relationship with yourself now and with others? Because there is an imbalancement. So the body is definitely going to say, hey, but cancer, it's again something a little bit different, because in a sense that, not that different actually, but because it's when we feel the sense of deep powerlessness, we refuse, we just give up on it. And this is how cancer comes in.
It's almost like
to take over.
Self-defeating prophecy. And
well, it's there to say, hey, address the core issue. And this is why we cope. We just like address the top, that stick out, but we don't go to the core.
Is it then that we are, as societies, perhaps unwilling to even delve into trying to understand how some of the older societies have benefited from their knowledge? So, for instance, you talk about the different organs and the lungs being related to relationships. I think back to some publications that talked about this couple that have been together for 50, 60, 70, 80 years. When one passes, the other invariably pass in a very short time thereafter. Their hearts are no longer. And I've always found that to be interesting, that these two people have existed for so long together, and the demise of one, you can look for the other to fall, not long after. That connectedness?
Yeah, it's something that we look at and we're like, oh, that's the type of love I want for myself, right?
Yeah.
Well, after we don't really know, because it's true to say that some people also stay together because of the whole life and are miserable because they're scared of being by themselves, or they're fearful of facing all the changes that moving along, is going to
the codependency.
Yeah. Well, you see that a lot. I mean, I see that a lot. Codependency and narcissism and all of that stuff. Yeah, but it's not, I mean, I don't think it's like a pathology or something. I think it's really a consequence of those fragmentation.
All right, well, this is where I think as we start to appreciate the knowledge that's out there, the ability to be introduced to different concepts, to learn from other people through their experiences may help us to improve. We've got a news break, and when we come back, I'm mindful that people listening will probably be intrigued and interested, but perhaps for some of us, we're like, well, this is new territory for us. It sounds foreign in a sense. How do we break it down for them to appreciate that it's actually life, and it's life as it unfolds? How do we embrace it? How do we understand it? And how, if possible, do we apply and benefit from it? So when we come up from the break, could we put that in perspective?
Okay.
All right, I'm going to pause and make the advertisers happy. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman,
the voice,
the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. Water Authority Cayman advises customers in the Newlands area of a planned temporary service interruption scheduled for Sunday, March 27th between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. to facilitate infrastructure upgrades in the area. In international news, the cost of living in Russia is surging following the country's invasion of Ukraine, according to new data. Official figures show price of some household staples, such as sugar, have jumped by as much as 14% over the past week. North Korea has tested a banned intercontinental ballistic missile for the first time since 2017, South Korea and Japan say. Japanese officials said it flew 684 miles and fell in Japanese waters after flying for over an hour. ICBMs designed for nuclear arms delivery could extend North Korea's strike range as far as the U.S. mainland. A streaming service could win Best Picture at the Oscars for the first time on Sunday, which Netflix's head of global film, Scott Stuber, says would be the dream. Netflix was once the new kid on the block, now has 27 Oscar nominations at this year's Academy Awards, more than any other studio. The Power of the Dog, the story of two warring brothers set in 1920s Montana, is one of the frontrunners to be named Best Picture. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks for joining us, and thanks to Stephanie Dos Santos for sharing with us. I think increasingly we're looking for people who have courage, who also have an experience, and if I might say carefully, a level of expertise. For some people, they don't necessarily like that word. But it's through our collective consciousness, it's through our shared experiences that we are able to, what's the word that we use so much now? Empower others. Someone that knows something is able to show you and share with you so that you now come to a level of knowledge as well. That makes us, in a better position, I would think.
Absolutely.
All right. We were talking just before the break and seeing how for some, this could be a bit of a novel introduction. For some, they would probably label it as, other things less than complimentary. But we all go through life like this, known as some pivotal point in our lives that we appreciate. And we get said, change your life. We get, going through a midlife crisis. We put all these things in perspective, a near-death experience, all these things. Is it then for these things to happen before we as a people to start to appreciate that life is more than just getting up, going to work, paying the bills, and we eat, we live, we breathe? And okay, let me rephrase it another way, Ms. Stephanie.
Merci.
And certainly for those who are listening, for me, new experiences and new information is always something that intrigues me and inspires me to great exploration. So we go back to those 5 wounds that we spoke to earlier. Let's start back there. And before we do, you reference boundaries. Some of us would know a boundary in relation to our properties. Well, this is my property boundary. But we don't appreciate that we do have boundaries.
And very often we're not aware of what they are. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that lots of people have a very negative connotation on the word boundary, as if it was putting a distance between, a separation, actually, should I say, between others and self. When boundaries, it's basically what you like and what you don't like in relation to the world. And your boundaries will evolve with time as well.
Okay.
So that's why when we feel sometimes, like when we end up like saying hi to someone that we don't want, and then we're like, and we get upset. Actually, you're not upset with the person. You're upset with yourself. You're upset with yourself because...
Yeah, but is it then that we have an expectation of us, but we also have this view that society has an expectation? Oh, you're rude and disrespectful because you didn't say hi to this person that you should have. And then when you do say it or you engage in some way, you'll be upset. But as you shared, you're upset with yourself. So what do we do about that then?
Well, you first start to define what are your boundaries. Okay. Because you can't be upset for someone that's violating your boundaries because you are the one violating yours. You can't allow someone to violate yours without yourself violating your own boundary.
Okay, so let me ask that question this way. So let's say there are 3 people, two good friends or even spouses, and then the third person, one of the friends or the spouses, speaks to the third person, "Hey, how you doing?" And that upsets the other person. Why did you speak to them? You know how they are, and unlike the example where you shared, you speak to the person and you're upset because, right? But this third party now is upset with you for, making an effort to speak. How does that relate into that level of the boundary and the accommodation? And one wants to be friendly with the other one. The other has an issue with that interaction because.
Well, is it jealousy?
Okay.
Because if it's jealousy, for example, even that we think, jealousy, it's so bad, and envy is a sin, and but even those emotions are valid, like, because when you feel jealous, it's because there's something very precious, that you feel you're scared of losing. So if I'm jealous of my sister, which I was when I grew up, it's because it felt like my connection with my dad was threatened. So what we do about that, it's actually sitting in with that emotion of jealousy, because now if we know that it's because the connection, we fear, losing the connection that we have with the person, it's about, okay, let's talk about it. But you have first to admit it to yourself. And this on itself is very challenging. Because for years I was not willing to address that I was jealous. I'm like, no, I'm not jealous. No. But the truth is, we have to face and to sit onto those emotions without feeling guilty about it, or without feeling that you're less of a person. So when it's like that, then you can say, okay, or even if it's in relationship, in a couple, if I'm with a man and I'm feeling jealous, because there's this other woman, I will not want to get rid of her, which is unfortunately what most people want to do. It's to get rid of the threat. Instead of addressing the core of the emotion, which is, okay, I'm going to talk to my man and tell him how I felt. So by talking together, we're going to reinforce this connection. And it's a basic need,
But that's a good example, because we see many relationships, for instance, being threatened or even sort of dissolved because of that. This one is jealous of the interaction of this one with that one.
Yeah, but you see, if we don't address it to actually reinforce the connection, this is how the gap is being created.
Well, how do you do that? Because for some people, communication is a challenge. They don't want to say anything because then they might.
Well, you know what? You have to speak. And then you have to address, why is it so hard for me to speak? Okay. And one more time, it's going to come back to childhood. Because you were not allowed to be heard, or when you wanted to make yourself heard, you got shut down, and so on. So that's also why in the psyche, lots of people, lots of adults, they're not going to dare speaking their truth, because they're going to face rejection, or maybe because they're going to be scared of confrontation or differences of opinion, and so on.
Okay. Now, with that in mind, we can see the jealousy amongst siblings vying for the affection of the parent.
Yeah.
What about the parents, mother and father? Could they be jealous of each other because of the relationship that one parent may have with the children or with their child?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I was jealous of my sister, it's because she was so good at martial arts, and my dad was following her everywhere. So that's why the year after, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do judo as well. But yeah, and this is also, we look at parents as if they were perfect and as if they hold the answers, when most of the time I see the wounded child in that adult body.
Oh, interesting. So we projecting sometimes as the parents, we try to live vicariously through
Well,
the
it's a
children?
conditioning. I saw my parents being completely codependent. There's also something to mention. It's like there's codependent and there's interdependence.
Difference. Huh?
Yeah. Interdependence, it's healthy. Codependence, it's like, it's not healthy because you're putting your needs away aside for.
How do you recognize the difference? How do you know the difference between being codependent and being interdependent?
Well, codependent, you end up being miserable. It's like your needs are not met. You always want like complaining because he or she does not do things.
All right. So we hear like marriage convenience, relationships of convenience. These two are together because it gives them combined income. It provides one with the benefit that the other has. That sort of thing is unhealthy. That's the level of codependence that we're talking about.
If they stay just for
the benefit of whatever the relationship provides, social status.
Well, you have to ask yourself why do we do that? Is it worth it?
Mm-hmm.
What are the real reasons why we stay together?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, I know some people might not like what I'm going to say. I'm sorry, right? But it's... I'm not going to say it.
You're not going to say it? Don't say it. Well, let me then ask then. You said that we need more than love.
To a relationship, like
to
romantic relationships.
Mm-hmm.
This is for romantic relationships that I was referring to, that we need compatibility.
Compatibility.
Yeah.
Okay.
So...
And I think that maybe that's where we look at some couples, for instance, and we see a wonderful relationship. They seem to be genuinely happy. There's that compatibility. So in the absence of a romantic relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Love is okay. Love is all we need.
I've got beautiful friendships. I've got these 3 amazing beings in my life, and it's love. It's intimacy. Intimacy. It's also, it does not involve sex.
Right.
Intimacy. You can break down intimacy into me-see.
Mm-hmm.
It's the ability to feel, to hear, to sense the other person. It's being able to say, I love you because I see who you are.
All right. But even that word intimacy, from what you just shared, we seem to have a misperception of intimacy. We equate it as being romantic, sexual, as opposed to it being this thing that I would say agape, this all-encompassing interaction with people that transcends the physical. Is that what?
Yeah. No, you can have an intimate relationship with your kids, and of course, there's not going to be the sexual component involved into it.
Okay.
Intimacy, it's really the core of. It's our core. It's our essence, our heart, our soul. You can call it the way you want. It's it's really being able to understand the other person, to meet on the heart center.
Okay, so you in a relationship where there's safety, there's a sense of if you're vulnerable, you're okay. The person has your back. That's the intimacy you can share. Yeah. It's this connectedness on a heartfelt.
You have to be able to bring it to yourself, though. You have to be able to bring that level of honesty to yourself. It's not pushing down when you start to feel jealous, for example. It's like when you're angry because she or he didn't do something you asked for. It's like, say it.
That ability to express yourself without being afraid of being judged and condemned.
Expressing yourself, it's honoring your boundaries.
Okay. As you said, I'm thinking to examples in history and even perhaps in our own lives where 2 friends, they're very close. We would say, two peas in a pod. We see them all the time, and they're the best of friends. And but we would never look at them and think intimacy, because then perhaps mistakenly we equate that word with something other than what you're now sharing. It's about being so connected and interdependent, perhaps.
Yeah.
See, I learned something today again. All right, we got a quick 1:15 break to take. When we come back, we'll continue. And for those who are listening, share a thought. If you're not quite sure where we're going, if you're not quite sure you understand, if you want to help us to, illuminate the...
Or if they have questions.
949-8037. Toll free with the kind compliments of flow at 1-800-534-8255. And then you can WhatsApp, whether you type it through or send a voice note, 925-3261. Looking forward to hearing from you.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette, brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Captain Keith Parker Tibbetts, MBE, JP. Following a successful and decorated shipping and military career, Captain Keith Parker Tibbets, MBE, JP, returned back to Cayman Brac. In 1953, an enterprising Captain Keith began a small retail grocery business in Watering Place. The entrepreneurial spirit he developed 20 years prior while working in the family-owned soft drink factory at Cotton Tree Bay would shine through, turning the grocery business into Tibmart Supermarket in 1974, introducing gift stamps for purchases and pioneering self-service shopping in Cayman Brac. Keith Tibbets was fond of saying, "They stocked everything to take you from the cradle to the grave." Captain Keith's entrepreneurial efforts stretched far, and he began landing cars by pontoons in 1955. He also owned and operated the island's first rock crusher and started commercial farming on the bluff. He then opened a gas station in 1955, served as Cayman Airways agent until 1980, and in 1975 was appointed agent with Red Carpet Airlines, part owned by his brother Linton. He also operated a sub-post office, taught local men carpentry, built 12 houses, and sold them to young seamen, assembled a steel staircase, and built the platform for the stratoscopic antenna for cable wireless at Stake Bay, worked as an agent for Modern General Insurance Company, operated Skipper's Lodge Guest House, Kesson Rent-A-Car, served as an agent for Thompson Shipping Company, and owned and operated a gift shop at the Brac Reef Hotel. This was part 6 of a special Sister Islands vignette series dedicated to Captain Keith Parker Tibbets.
I'll be back. I've got 22 more days.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza. Open Monday to Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
Did you know that ValueMed Pharmacy has a free online prescription service? Managing your health and medical requirements has never been easier with ValueMed. Simply visit value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com and click the Refill Prescriptions tab on our website. Fill in the information for new prescriptions or refills and choose your preferred pickup location. ValueMed on Walkers Road or Town. Then bring in your original prescription from your doctor when picking up. There's no need to stand in line and wait for your prescription. Save time and pick up prescriptions at your convenience by visiting value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. And if you want to be a part of our discussion, 949-8037, 949-8037, or 1-800-534-8255. We're talking about collective consciousness. Stephanie Dos Santos is our guest. But even that topic, collective consciousness, for some people, they might even be a bit put off. And I'm saying that respectfully, but recognizing that for many of us, we are concerned about certain things, we're curious about certain things, but we're also very cautious in whether we ask people or whether when we ask, is it in a public setting. Even as simple as you go to a restaurant, you look at a menu item, you go, this sounds good, but I don't know what this ingredient is. And we feel reluctant to ask the server, and even sometimes the server, you can see, doesn't know what that thing is. And either A will give you some answer just to appease you, or will look embarrassed and, let me go back and ask the chef because I don't know what kimchi is. But sometimes, so what is that about us? Is that human nature that because
we tend to fear what we don't know.
We fear what we don't know.
Yeah, everything that is not familiar because we like to have control.
Why is that so important to have control?
Because it allows us to, very often with the illusion of having our needs met.
Okay. Earlier you said that, when our needs are not met, we feel unsafe.
Yeah.
Right? And that could be needs in any way. We look to the small child, perhaps.
Yeah.
If the child is cold and we don't, cuddle and get it. If the child is hungry or needs to be bathed. And there's even laws in some jurisdictions that say that amounts to a level of, neglect, and therefore there are, legal sanctions.
Well, there's different type of needs. You've been talking about the physical needs.
Uh-huh.
And there's also like what your body needs and what your soul needs. And you see, very often we think of a soul like something that is etheric, something we can't see, we can't really understand. And it's the same as the nature of emotions and feelings. And we think that you would bring them as soul, but it causes trauma if some of your physical needs are not met. What makes also immense damages in modern societies is the fact that the emotional needs are not met. So to go back to that child, that aspect that if he is angry or if he wants something from his parent, he does not get it. It's not being fulfilled, or this is an important unbalancement that is going to go through in life afterwards, because he's not going to be daring asking for what he needs.
Know how to communicate, and that affects future relations of whatever.
Absolutely. That's why, if he needs that from his partner, he's going to really have a hard time asking for it, because it's going to trigger him the feeling of rejection or abandonment. He hasn't been acknowledged whatsoever.
But then with that, the physical need is perhaps easier to identify and perhaps even to address. If I can say it publicly, would it be okay? In here is a bit cold. Right? Now, it wasn't that cold to me initially because I was so outside. Thankfully, you brought a jacket and had the ability to meet that need of being warm.
Yeah.
Right? So the physical needs are easier sometimes to identify and address. But that emotional need, do we even recognize that we have that we actually want and need that connectivity, that level of interaction on the emotional level, on the spiritual level, as it were? How do we recognize that something's missing? There's that.
Because we don't feel good.
Okay.
It's keep being like a pushback and feeling like one more time, you don't feel like you're worthy of that thing that you want. That's why in the coaching work, it's going to be a lot about building your self-confidence, your self-worth, self-trust.
So you're trying to fill a void then that is there.
But that's why we end up in codependent relationships, because we feel like we have this void.
Okay.
But we have this void because we have disowned parts of ourselves. They're not gone, they're there, they're inside. They're just been buried or put under the rug.
We deny them, we ignore them.
Yeah.
All right. In preparing for a discussion today, I reached out to two friends who shared with me as I was telling me, how do I prepare for this discussion, because this is new for me as well. And I think sometimes we are afraid of the unfamiliar. We fear what we don't know.
Yeah.
We are also, whether we like it or not, concerned about how people will perceive certain things, especially public things, right? Some of us will not have a drink of any sort, whether it's a sweet, fruity, sugary drink or whether it's an alcoholic beverage in certain settings. Not that we have an issue with it, but because we don't want it to be perceived. This, or this. People go for lunch at work. They probably won't order anything other than a glass of water. No coffee, no soda, no alcohol. They might do it at a different setting. So I asked these two friends, and they say it's very much like, when you're in recovery, whether you've been there for a decade or longer, you find in a way, and then they gave me a sort of a quick preview, and I don't profess to understand it, of the different steps that you go through in order to get there. And for many of them, there's a spiritual aspect to it, so that they can replace what was a chemical dependency, and then this thing fills it. And then went back and did, again, maybe for about 45 minutes or so, perhaps came away even more confused than ever. Some readings on some of the Middle Eastern sort of or the Eastern cultures and their approach to consciousness and their approach to my words. How do you fill this void? And I see a lot of connectivity. Now, I still don't quite sure I understand all that I read, but there seems to be more alike than different. The names are different, the approaches are different, but the outcomes is the same.
Yeah. Well, you've got body, mind, and and soul that are the three pillars of life.
Okay, body, mind, and soul. All right, so we are speaking to Stephanie. No, this happens when we talk as much as we do, right? So body, mind, and soul.
Yes.
Those are the three pillars of life.
For a healthy life.
Okay.
Yes. So it's about, now we understanding that we have been neglecting the soul aspect, the emotion aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything is comprised into a soul. Like your body, the body is the soul projecting itself physically. Your mind is your soul projecting itself mentally, and your soul,
right?
It's your feelings. It's your soul consciously perceiving. So that's going to be through emotions. But very often we dismiss this as we dismiss that we have a soul. And this is actually also, when we started, you asked me what took me there. And I said there was a few components. And when I was 16, I had a near-death experience when I got the cancer on my throat. So what happened is, when I was waking up on intensive care, the pain was so strong that I purposely stopped breathing.
Wow.
And if you stop breathing, like right now, you're going to feel a pressure on your chest. At that moment, I felt a peace, an immense peace. And this is at that time that I got out of my body. And I remember being on top of the room and seeing people around me with the machine beep, saying, "Come on, Stephanie, you have to breathe." And even to this day, and I'm 40, going on 41, I still don't know what pushed me back into my body to feel the pain again. But I got back from the top of my head, and it felt like this physical body was like a too tight pajama. And feeling the pain again and being back to life. So from that moment, I knew that it was an inanimated body and a soul. And that's the soul that gives life to this body.
We may either have seen portrayals, reenactments of near-death experiences. We may have read accounts. Some of us may have talked to people. And now you're sharing publicly, as you had in the past, this near-death experience. And with great respect, there are going to be those who listen in and relate and, champion you for it. And then there are going to be those who go, "Oh boy, really?" Right?
Yeah, they're going to say, "Oh, that's the anesthetic product." I've heard it all. That's why, for many years as well, I was not speaking my truth, and it was so challenging for me to speak up and to tell what it is that is going on in Stephanie's world. But at the end of the day, I'm here to speak my truth, and not everybody needs to connect with it, and that is fine.
Right. So if you would allow us, let's ask maybe two things in that sense. We know people who have had a battle with a particular illness or an accident or something transpired, and then we see them return in a way that gives them, at least for a period of time, a renewed appreciation for life and for people. Some are just full steam ahead, doing anything and everything because they don't know what tomorrow will bring or the next hour. And others doing the same thing but in a very positive way, more productive, more gracious and grateful and embracing and trying to help and undo the bad they've done, do the great good. They now have this renewed approach to life in terms of whether they're going to do it all to get it all in or they're going to give all to benefit. So we've seen that. But then your experience of a near-death experience, talking about, being there in the intensive care, you're seeing your body floating, almost
my soul was floating, my body was
sorry, there you go. Okay. I misspeak. And some of us would say, yeah, I saw that in the movie. Right? What was it like? If you don't mind repeating it, what was that? Is that how it was? There you are above everybody else, hovering, seeing, hearing.
I could not actually see the the limitation of my. It's not like as if I was my body, a part of my body, like projected onto the ceiling. It's like it's really that what I remember. It's that what I felt. I felt connected to everything and everyone. And I even say everything because even the air, like, absolutely everything. It was that feeling of oneness. You think of something, bam, you there. Like bam, you see your my parents in the room waiting. It's.
And you said you're at peace.
Yes, and that's why I thought if it's what it is, dying.
Yeah. So you go to
it's
that.
Definitely part of life, and you can't have that without one without the other. It's like you can't have love without fear. It's the two polarities. You can't have
be vulnerable.
Yeah.
But you also said you don't know what
pushed me back.
Pushed you back.
Well, it's because I was not meant to go at that time, obviously. So. And that's why also to go back to death, it's something that I've noticed because I was always so scared of suffering. It's something that used to terrorize me and break my heart. I was like, why suffering? It's so necessary. And but the truth is, there's a certain level that your body can handle suffering before your soul just goes out. And I've had that example of sorry, it's going to be a little bit gross, right? But when you look at in the jungle, the lion that is going to eat alive a zebra, the zebra is going to be alive, but you don't hear him scream. You've never noticed that? It's the same. Soul gone. There's a certain level of threshold of pain that we can tolerate before we just zone out. And this is something that actually really reassured me.
Never thought that way, Yeah. But it's interesting. All right. One more break, Ms. Stephanie.
Okay.
And we'll continue. And those who wish, we invite you to return with us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Subway is serving up a special new sauce, bursting with flavor in every bite. The new Savory Collection is a tropical sweet and spicy sauce made with a combination of spices, habanero peppers, thyme, onion, black pepper, ginger, citrus juices, and molasses.
So good. Wow. Sensational. Delicious.
Subway's Savory Collection pairs perfectly with our oven roasted chicken or steak sub. Savor the flavor. For a limited time, only at Subway. Subway. Eat fresh.
Hi, I'm remodeling our bathroom. I have a few questions.
Sure.
What are some ideas to make my bathroom feel larger? How do I know if I'm picking the right vanity? How do I choose a new toilet or a new countertop? Also, the lighting is terrible. Can I put a window or a skylight? And do I really need an exhaust fan?
You've come to the right place. At Brand Source, we custom design kitchen and baths, and our talented design team can help answer your questions. Whether you're looking for a modern, functional family bathroom or a luxurious personal retreat, we'll help create that beautiful space that makes your home yours. And if you're in a rush for a new look and have a limited budget, our ready-to-install bathroom vanities, built with solid wood and countertops of the finest materials, are a quick and easy remodeling solution.
For the very best in custom-designed kitchens and baths, visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, Cayman's Kitchen and Bath Center. King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Cardinal Avenue may be closed, but La Perfumerie 2 remains open. La Perfumerie 2 has an expertly curated collection of fragrance, skincare, and cosmetics, and is available for appointments with our trained beauty consultants. Customers can avail of free parking at Bayshore Mall. No need to drive around town looking for parking. Want to call and collect? Call 815-7492 or email perfumery2@kirkfreeport.com with your order before 2 p.m. and collect from Kirk Gallery Bayshore Mall at 4 p.m. same day or next day. Full details at kirkfreeport.com.
Attention parents and guardians. Any child who is 5 years old by 31st August must be enrolled in an approved educational program, including government, private, or homeschooling program. Registration for the 2022-23 academic year begins on 1st April. Applications received before 1st April will not be considered. Detailed students' registration guidelines and forms are available on the Department of Education Services website at www.schools.edu.ky or by emailing edu.registration@gov.ky.
Something big is coming to Radio Cayman.
Have you heard? Well, what is it?
For 3 days only, April 5th to 7th.
I know what it is, but I can't tell you. Ma, you don't know? How you know?
You don't want to miss this.
Well, hurry up and tell us now.
Radio Cayman is offering something big for all our advertisers. Contact RC Sales at gov.ky or get in touch with your account executive to learn more.
So you're really not going to tell us?
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. And thanks for joining us. Thanks to Ms. Stephanie Dos Santos for being our guest. Collective consciousness. It almost sounds like a brand, you know. It sounds like a place that we should go, an event we should attend.
Soon.
Yeah. But I'm wondering, though, if there are enough of us that are actually actively looking inward, reflecting on our actions, our endeavors, our aspirations.
Well, when people are going to be sick of encountering the same issues and feeling the same emotions, what we call negative emotions coming back, well, eventually you're going to have to start diving into yourself.
Let me ask this way. We see the Family Resource Center, for instance, over the years putting on programs, you know, Love Shouldn't Hurt, the idea of healthy relationships, what it's like. And we hear about toxic relationships. Earlier, you referenced the notion of codependency and the like. Is there such a term as toxic positivity?
Yeah, I think there is. Because, I mean, don't get me wrong, like positive affirmations, it's good. There's trying to stay focused on positivity, it's great. Also, it can become toxic when you keep ignoring something that you feel deep inside. You know, so if all the time you feel like you're not worthy, but you're like, okay, I'm going to recite 10 positive affirmations to get away from it. Well, you're very likely to trap yourself into a narcissist bubble where you will not even want to be around people that feel negative to you. You're going to actually, by doing that, feeling disconnected to yourself, by disconnecting yourself from others, by thinking, I'm just about positivity. Because the truth is, you know, it's like saying, oh, if you're always positive, you're not going to feel fearful, you're going to always tune into love. But we can't say, I am all about love. Because being human, it's having those polar entities, polarities. So like we mentioned, the opposite of love is fear. And it's two facets of the same coin. So that's why you can never become fearless, ever. Because, you know, you can't. It's not possible. But what you can do, though, it's acknowledging your fear and hearing it like any other emotion, like anger, jealousy, envy. You listen to it. And you don't allow the fear to paralyze you and to go where you want to go. You just acknowledge it. You say, okay, I'm hearing you, fear. I love you. We're going to move forward together. You don't allow yourself to stay stuck into that facet of the coin.
But fear paralyzes our thoughts or actions. I mean, we see people become frozen because they, what's the saying, like a deer in headlights? We see that. We see people because of the fear of something they will not explore. And you know, they may not travel because they have the fear of flying. They may not take up the promotion
because they're scared of dying.
Right. So how do you just said, I hear your fear, I love you, but we're going forward. I mean, take for instance, the person who now has an opportunity, the organization said, listen, I want you to move from Cayman to wherever, or move from wherever to Cayman to, you know, take up employment. Or they want to relocate somewhere for a period of time. And just to explore it, just to maybe even go on a sabbatical and journey for months. It's something they always wanted to do, but they're reluctant, they're afraid. How do you get that person to? I see that as an opportunity. I know some people may see it differently, but
well, then you allow yourself to go to the end of the road with it.
Okay.
So you kind of like can do a fragmentation work by yourself, where you can really embody that fear and say, okay, because I'm scared of doing that, this is what's going to be happening.
Okay.
So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stay here. And you take yourself to the end of that road. And then you go onto the polar opposite. Okay. And you're like, okay, now let's say that I'm embodying the decision of doing it. What's going to be happening? What's the worst?
For some people, I mean, just the fear of failure denies them a try.
Yeah, but you see... Yeah, but if you never tried, you know, you're already failing because you think you could not make a decision, but you made the decision by not making a decision.
If you mentioned fragmentation, if people wanted to, because too many times I think we become paralyzed in a sense by fear. We're unwilling and reluctant to explore within so that we can enjoy and live a sense of fulfillment. Could people reach out to you and benefit from your expertise, your experience, your counsel?
Yeah, if you're ready to address your fear, and absolutely.
What would be the best way? How would they reach you?
Like through DNA introspection on Facebook or Instagram.
Okay.
Or that's my contact details.
Right, no, thanks. Because I'm thinking that too many times sometimes we're not quite sure of the resource. We're not quite sure how to do it. It's like a good recipe. You know, it's your mother's, your grandmother's favorite recipe, and you have a copy of it. You treasure it and you preserve it. You're going to pass it on for future generations. But you've never gone into the kitchen to say, I wonder what it would be like if I actually try to make it. Because, you know, never make it as good as she did. And so you deny yourself the opportunity to even try.
Yeah.
As simple as that is, I'm sure there are many of us who can relate to that. We won't we won't pick up that first step to book that vacation that we've always dreamed about.
But you see, after there's also that component that we grow up with the idea that other people know better what's good for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, no, you didn't hear that. No, do that. You're going to do this. Because, you know, this is what's going to guarantee you a job or whatever. So that's why we end up going through life with very strong lack of self-trust because we got told that people know better. So we go and choose what we think is expected of us. And this is why we lose trust to self. So it's about rebuilding that. It's about making decisions. You know, it's about like testing.
Is it then self-confidence as well? Self-esteem?
Yeah, because when you try, you know, even if you fail, I mean, your self-worth is going to be wrapped into getting things done right the way you want. So this is how, and because you've tried and you put yourself out there, you feel good by taking a risk.
You know, as you said, I'm thinking to the football player who is, you know, the leading goal scorer, perhaps on the team or perhaps in the league. I'm wondering if you were to do a statistical analysis, the player may have scored 10 goals, but did the player take 10 shots, 100 shots on goal, 1,000 shots on goal? If you didn't take that first shot or any shot, you probably won't score any goals, right?
Absolutely.
Let's take this call, though. Let's do that.
Okay.
Stephanie Dos Santos is our guest. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon, Sterling. How you doing?
Very blessed, man. How are you?
Rough, regular, poor, sober, and ugly.
Good to hear from you always, man.
Thank you. You know, I've been listening to the show from time you started.
Oh, thank you.
And the young lady there is just phenomenal on the way she is presenting whatever. Because, like I told you a couple of days ago, always think positive. And that is exactly what she is saying in every word she speaks. Be positive, think positive, and you will be positive.
It's beginning to be, no?
Yes.
Well, I'm glad that you were
when you the saying is to say when you lie with dog you get fleas. And trust me, she is nail on the head.
Thank you. I'm glad that it's resonating in you.
No, I've always thought on the same line that you're thinking and trying to portray out there.
How do you, if I'm okay to ask you,
Sure.
You're a positive individual, you speak publicly, you share your perspective and relative to things. How do you think society perceives people that speak their truth, they call it as they see it, and they decide, hey, you know, well, if you would share, only if you're comfortable, and you can use your own experiences, you can draw on what you see around you. What are your thoughts?
Well, 90% of the people look at you as being someone that is always, you know, in the limelight, so to speak.
What they say,
say, you know, they'll say, "Oh, him again, her again." Why they can't do this? Why they can't do that? But they're the same people that look at you and say that are thinking negative all the time.
So how do we get them? Well, let me first ask, do you think when people see people who are like that, do those people feel a sense of envy, that jealousy, that resentment as it is, or do they quietly and privately admire that person?
Sometimes a bit of both.
Okay.
Because sometimes people will admire a person, but the person doesn't know because they don't say anything.
Okay. So then, if by owning your truth and speaking out and standing in the gap as it is, how do you get the naysayers to do the same thing? So that, you know, if we all love and give all our love, then we have a much more loving, a much safer, better place, right? So how do we get people to come on board? Or is it that some people can't?
If I knew that, I'd not be a multi-billionaire, not multi-millionaire.
If I knew that, maybe I'll have eternal happiness.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, man. Any other thoughts you want to share with us?
No. Just enjoying it.
Thank you. Thank you for listening too. So intently. I appreciate it. And the caller's point, Mr. DJ, do you need us to break or we can keep talking? You need a break? He's going to get some turtle meat for us, I think. All right. Let's pause and take a break. When I come back, Ms. Stephanie, could we ask you? The caller just shared about, being a multi-billionaire. Sometimes we measure our worth by our wealth. We look at the people. So maybe that void, that self sort of fulfillment comes from material things and money. How does that play into this? Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm sure I can't speak about you, right? But it's very common to have families that are going to orientate their kids towards jobs that's going to secure them financially.
Okay.
Kind of like dismiss their passions and so on.
All right. So let's pursue that when we come back from this commercial break. Maybe this is for a particular parent. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
For medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab. Blood test, x-ray and mammogram, all of that is MedLab. Affordable fees and friendly service, a full professional team. MedLab is always comfortable, MedLab is always clean. For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Call 949-7331 and ask about MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Thinking of getting a hybrid but don't know much about them? Vant Motors has 3 great reasons why you should own the Toyota CHR. Hybrids save fuel, run cleaner, reduce CO2 emissions, and even recharge their batteries while being driven. So there's no need to plug in a hybrid, making it both economical and fun to drive. And you don't have to replace your battery every 2 years. The CHR hybrid is reliable, providing up to 1 million kilometers on the same battery and engine. Oh, and now you can save $2,000 off the Toyota CHR, starting at only $33,500.
That's way more than 3 reasons.
True, but the best one is that it's on sale now. Test drive the Toyota CHR today at Vant Motors, Walkers Road, while stocks last.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments until April 9th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointments slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skin care, Botox filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email dr.porterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That's 946-9020.
Sale, sale, sale. Christian Enlightenment Center is having a 25% off store-wide sale. That's right, everything is 25% off. So hurry in today. Save on books, Bibles, water bottles, journals, and so much more. Sale is on through Saturday, March 26th. Christian Enlightenment Center, located on Elgin Avenue in the Arboretum Building. Telephone 945-1252. Opening hours are Monday to Saturday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. Hurry in today to Christian Enlightenment Center and save, save, save.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
The Department of Agriculture advises Cayman Brac residents of their plant sale on Saturday, March 26 from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at the Agricultural Grounds on Songbird Drive on the Bluff. A variety of herbs and spices, vegetable seedlings, and fruit trees will be available. Cash is required for all plant purchases. For more information, call 948-0522 or visit their Facebook or Instagram page at Agriculture Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome Mike, and thanks to Ms. Stephanie Dos Santos for her time, and to the last caller in particular, and hopefully his comments resonate with others as well. And the notion that we can talk about these things publicly, that we can start to appreciate that there's nothing new under the sun. The things that most of us feel, even though we may believe and feel it's only us experiencing that or in that way, chances are your best friend probably going through it and you don't even know because you don't communicate, you don't share.
Because we feel shameful sometimes about expressing how we feel. We feel like person is not going to understand, or that we're being silly, or that we're being needy, or emotional.
All
when
things,
it's all valid.
Yeah, but we say it and express it in a negative way. There are negative connotations, right?
Yeah.
Even like asking for help. There are some people who will never ask for help, even if they
because probably like a fear of being rejected and the fear of getting a no on top of their helpless situation might be just too much to handle. When in nature we like to help one another. I'm sure if you go to the supermarket, you've got this person asking you, "Oh, can you help me with this?" Like you're naturally going to do it.
That's an interesting thing, and I know that I asked about the money. I know that we have the 2:00 news break. Maybe we'll talk about the money in a bit. But this idea of help, there's some of us who offer ourselves up to be helpful to almost anybody and everybody. And a good friend of mine recently, she was saying, well, why do some of us do that? Is there a need that we're trying to meet? Just off the cuff, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I always am a little bit skeptical when people say, I just helplessly give, and I give everything, and well, very often it's because there is a selfish reason in that, an unconscious selfish reason where we want that validation that yes, we are a good person. So when someone say, I don't understand, I give him or I give her everything, and I did everything for her, and this is what I got back. I mean, how much of yourself did you lose, or were you aware of in the first place before giving all of yourself? Can you define what is all of yourself? Because that's the truth. If you sit down and they're facing the core of your intention, it's very often because we want to be validated and we want to have that person saying, "Oh, thank you so much."
We want approval. We want to be validated.
Yeah, very often that's.
Interesting.
Very often that's if you forget all about yourself, you abandon yourself for someone. Yes. You're on a quest for your identity, wanting other person to help you define who you are.
So in recent years, we've heard things like wellness and self-care.
Yeah.
And I'll share this publicly. For a very long time, I'm very grateful to my sisters and a couple of them in particular who would say, listen, you need to make yourself a priority. You need to take time to rest and relax and exercise and read and do the things that you like. Yeah. And, this was before words like self-care and wellness were even uttered, at least in my presence, right? But I never did, because consciously I thought, well, if I'm doing these things, taking time for myself, I could be doing something for somebody else and being selfish. We create that.
Very often we think that self-care is being selfish.
But why?
Well, because we condemn selflessness, but we're going to condemn selfishness. When the truth is, nobody is going to take care of you better than you. You have to know yourself. Mm-hmm. We go back to the boundaries. You have to know what you like, what you don't like. Mm-hmm. Because you're not going to just to help that person that's got no car, just here it is, here's the keys of my car, off you go. And say, oh man, you're so cool, thank you so much. It's an extreme example, right? But
probably more real, All right. These are good places to stick a pin. But when we come back, because money seems to be the order of the day in many places, and especially in a time like this. So how does this whole issue of wealth and wealth accumulation and money and status and let's have a discussion about that after the break.
Okay.
All right. I'm interested in this, not just from the economic or the financial perspective, but is there social and psychological implications? Stay tuned for Talk Today.
You are listening to Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Utility Regulation and Competition Office filed a charge against Rubis Cayman Islands Limited after investigating a spillage that occurred in November 2019 on one of the bulk diesel tanks at their Jackson Point terminal. While a significant quantity of diesel was released from the tank, there was no significant impact found on the surrounding environment, according to an assessment by Water Authority Cayman. The investigation concluded that Rubis did not take reasonable precautions to prevent the spillage. The file was submitted to the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions and charges were laid. The initial hearing was held on March 22, 2022, and the matter was adjourned. In international news, the Duke of Cambridge has spoken of his profound sorrow over slavery during a speech at a dinner in Jamaica. Prince William said slavery was abhorrent, should never have happened, and forever stains our history. Earlier, the island's Prime Minister Andrew Holness told the future king his country planned to pursue its goals as an independent country. Ethiopia's government has declared a humanitarian truce in its 16-month conflict with forces from the northern Tigray region. The civil war has left more than 5 million people needing food aid, yet none has been delivered to Tigray since mid-December. Private Caribbean islands owned by the deceased sex offender and financier Jeffrey Epstein are up for sale and could fetch up to $125 million. A lawyer for Epstein's estate confirmed to the BBC that the two islands, Little St. James and Great St. James, have been listed. Some proceeds from the sale will be used to settle outstanding lawsuits. Epstein died in jail in 2019, awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon, welcome back, and thanks very much for joining us, and thanks to Ms. Stephanie Dos Santos, not just for the laughter, but for the sharing of knowledge. I think that's how we live, and that's how I think we learn to improve, if that's the word that I'm trying to replace. I haven't found a word yet to make it a good substitute, because I think that's what we all endeavor to do, is try. We hear even some of the most sort of recognizable names in certain circles talk about being your better self, improving, and the like.
Well, the truth is that let's call the universe, to make it more general, the universe is expansion. And everything in this life, even the challenges, is there to promote your expansion. Huh. Wherever it's about addressing a healing, or it's all about expansion.
Yeah, that reminds me, the prayer job is in the Bible, you know, as you grow your kingdom, your domain, you expand. So Okay, I'll look at that from that perspective.
Yeah, and it's also like on a mental, emotional aspect.
Yeah. Once it's not expansion of the waistline, that's different, you know. Expansion of the mind, perhaps, and the influence positively. But let's look at money, because there are those who would, the minute we talk about money, will, you know, even quote it in Latin, radix malorum est cupidas, the love of money is the root of all evil. Some would do it from the scriptural perspective, right? People would say money is what makes the world go around. Some would joke and say, well, money can't buy happiness, but it allows you to choose your own kind of misery.
Well, I guess it all comes down to the energy source of it again, right? So it's true that, I mean, I'm going to share a personal story. When I was born in France, and my dad is a Portuguese immigrant, and I've got a younger sister and a younger brother. We didn't have much money. So when it was time, after bachelor, to choose university and what I'll be doing, I said to my parents, I said, I want to go to Paris and go to the fashion designer school. And my dad looked at me and he said, do I look like Christian Dior to you? I said, well, no. It's like, so you're going to do a job that is going to bring you money. So this has two impacts. One is that working of the passion is not worthy. And two, that if I was to dare doing something that I really wanted, I was not worthy of the love of my father. So I ended up going and studying law, and I really disliked that so profoundly.
Wow.
So I ended up like stopping after the 2 years and ended up going on with my life and doing something that I really liked. Not really that I really liked, actually, if I'm honest with myself, because it's only when I ended up living in another foreign country that I thought, you know what? I'm going to tune back into all my childhood dreams. And this, for everyone that does not know what their dreams or life purpose are, they very often resides, you know, in your childhood dreams. So that's why I've created a TV program that was made to empower people with self-confidence through style. And I was like, okay, all the things that my dad told me, like, no, you can't do, I'm going to do it. And I did it. So that was one of the dreams. And yeah, so to come back to money, it's something afterwards that I grew up with, that mentality that money is evil. So if you grow up like that, can you imagine how hard it's going to be for the money vibration to come to you, since your energy source is like, no, it's evil, away from me.
I just share that I'm thinking of so many things, right? And I'm looking at them from the Cayman perspective, recognizing that we have many people who've come and made this their home. It's the land of opportunity, not just the financial opportunity, the social opportunity, the fact that they've got a fresh new start. Not all easier necessarily, but in a sense safer and perhaps better. Use that word again. In the scripture, it talks about it's easier, you know, for a man, you know, to go through the eye of a needle, and for a rich man to get into heaven, right? We see money being projected and perceived as this horrible thing.
Because it's it kind of like money, what it will do, it's fulfill one of the three categories of the pillar that we have, body, mind, and soul. So basically, you can easier fulfill your physical needs with money. And this is where afterwards people make a usage where they use that to control. But if you feel like you need to control someone with whatever you have, it shows that it says something about you. Because if on an emotional perspective, it's you're feeling secure and all of that, you don't need to control people.
Right. But when we look at that context, that level of control, you know, what is it that is said? You know, you show me who controls the purse strings, I'll show you who called the shots. You know, presumably attributed to Rothschild. The notion that we use the money to buy influence and power, to control, to manipulate, to position, to ensure that whatever is on the agenda.
Well, at the end of the day, you know, when behind closed doors and you're facing yourself, it's just, you have to face yourself. It's like, are you comfortable? Do you feel good? about yourself when you know you've been doing that, and it belongs to, it's not my place to say, oh, you should feel bad or you should feel that way.
But your example with your father relative to your career choices, I look again to the Cayman context, and I wonder, consciously and unconsciously, how many of us as parents and as teachers have discouraged our children from pursuing the arts, the what we've termed the trades, right?
But that's the parents' fear projected onto the children. So what it has for an unconscious impact is that the kids doesn't feel like going forward he really wants is valid. I mean, it's I know as parents we're so wanting to educate and raise good kids, you know, and that fit in the mold and so on. But how about like raising healthy kids? They're not mini yous, or you know, they're just their own being with their own needs that are different than yours.
But even in listening to that, I'm just thinking from life's examples. The parent who would very deliberately, actively, and engage with the child, say, listen, you're smart, you can be whatever you want to be, and if you choose to do this or this, I'm there to support you.
Yeah.
And then there are probably other adults in the child's life, the coach, the teacher, the aunt, the uncle, the grandmother, maybe even a sibling, other people who would say, well, you know, the child has an aptitude for this, for law, for medicine, for something else, and you should, you know,
for basketball.
Yeah. Push the child, force the child, encourage the child into this area because the child is good at it. But if the child doesn't have an interest, a passion, and instead likes to, you know what, I want to be a fisherman. I want to be an educator. I want to be a talk show host.
Well, that's part. I think it's the part responsibility of the adult to put what their expectations are, you know, on the kids aside, to really tune into what makes this kid's heart sing.
Okay, so from that perspective, then, because we assign labels, you know, I'm going to be the mentor, or this is my mentor, or this is, and then it's usually, if this is incorrect, you will let me know. There's a power dynamic. There's the child and the parent. There's the young person and the older person. There's the newly minted professional in this category, and this older seasoned veteran in this industry. So there's always a power dynamic. So with the child who is, you know, wanting to do certain things or probably not sure, and then the adults, again, the educators, the parents, the aunts, the uncles, the older ones, would say, well, you're young, you don't have no life experience. How you know what you want to do? Yeah, this is what you should be doing. How do you get it so that we respect the child, but we also nurture and guide and ensure that the child is, in our words now, a success, making use of their talents and taking the opportunities that are available in, you know.
Well, you see, I mean, it's all like it's projection, and it's about making sure that, okay, as an adult, I can see that the desires that my child have, I mean, I didn't expect that, so I'm going to consciously address the fear that I have that are attached to that feeling that I'm having, and really tune into his own psyche to understand, okay, what is it really, you know, like I'm going to have to stretch. I'm going to as well myself have to expand to tune into his own consciousness, you know, like be intimate with that kid, you know, to really be able to feel, to hear, to see what my little one is telling me.
Right. But then there are times when we might employ some sort of strategy like personality tests or some other, you know, base sort of a assessment.
Yes, you said it. Thank you.
I did. It's where I think these discussions allow us as the adults to start to appreciate that consciously and unconsciously we're projecting, we're trying to live vicariously through our children without embracing them to their truth and to their success. That's more than measured by, you know, their paycheck.
Well, success, it's It's feeling happy. Like purpose of life, everything that you do when you look at it. Everything that you do, the food you eat, what you watch, the actions you take, it's always there for the purpose to make you feel better.
Even you exercise sometimes, huh?
Yeah.
Everything has a
But
purpose.
then afterwards, even for exercises, for example, like most people, it's a New Year's resolution or whatever, I'm going to exercise. But the reality is most people go and exercise because they hate their bodies. That's why, you don't keep in the long run. I mean, it's 20 years I haven't exercised, but the time that I wanted to go for a run, which I really don't like. I mean, it's because I had problem with my perception of my body. I hated my body, so I was like, okay, let's go and exercise. Lying to myself, I'm going to enjoy it. No.
A friend of mine said he likes how he looks, man. He puts where he can see it right in front. That's valuable to him.
It's funny because there was this pastor I was talking to 2 days ago, and he was making jokes about his nice belly, and then I start diving into it a little bit, talking about all his emotion that he's storing inside, because that's the truth.
We hide it, we mask it.
Yeah.
Huh.
The body is going to speak by itself.
Just need to listen.
Yep.
Being told. I guess that's why we see some people, when we see a genuine happiness, and even using the words they have an energy and aura, people hearing those words may think in a negative way, but there are some people that their very presence makes it better or not so good.
Well, that's the presence. I mean, we all vibrate, we live in a vibratory world. I know it might be a little bit of a stretch to talk about that now, right? And everything is vibration. The way you feel about yourself, even if you're not aware of it, is going to resonate and send out a vibration. And you're going to meet your vibrational match. So from the moment that you question, you're wondering, okay, why am I attracting this type of people?
You send it out?
Yeah. I mean, it's like last year, this guy came into the picture and he was so aggressive. I told him, I'm like, man, you've got some darkness and some aggressivity inside of you. I swear, from the moment that I was able to look at myself and say, okay, do I have some aggressivity that I've pushed down and I haven't acknowledged? And the answer was yes. I'm like, oh man, I didn't know. And suddenly I was like, okay, thank you. And at that moment, no more contact with that person. My vibration shifted, therefore there's no vibrational match, and up it goes.
So being aware of and willing to look within before we openly condemn.
Absolutely. Well, it's so easy to judge and condemn, right? It requires a complete different type of emotional intelligence, if I may say, to actually want to understand. And if it's the truth that if you're going to be very quick at judging others, there is a deep suffering within you where you judge yourself very harshly without you being aware of it. So talking about how to tune into consciousness, just observe, become aware of your words you speak, how you treat other people. If you find yourself criticizing others, it's like, okay, what part of me am I criticizing like that?
All right, something to think about as we come back from this final break. Again, judge not lest ye be judged. We're reminded that life and death is in the tongue, so what we speak perhaps comes back to us. All right, in our closing moments, more words of wisdom from Miss Stephanie. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Busy, busy, busy. Feel like there's not just enough hours in the day. Savannah Pharmacy, service to make your life easier. Now you can WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. And pickup is just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays. WhatsApp your prescription order to 929-5045. Savannah Pharmacy, wholesome values with modern conveniences.
Freedom, Cayman Brack. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
For medical medical lab services in Cayman, go straight to MedLab.
For a full range of medical services, pleasant, clean and comfortable environment, no long lines and affordable fees, visit MedLab at the Smith Road Plaza, open Monday to Friday 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and half day on Saturdays. Call 949-7331 to make your appointment.
For medical lab services in Cayman, MedLab.
Ask our professional team about the benefits of cutting-edge technology with MedLab's new state-of-the-art digital mammogram machine.
It's in our name. Fried chicken, it's our thing. Others may try, but we have the original. We put the extra and extra crispy. And our secret in everyone's mouth. So if we want to make the best chicken sandwich, we just need to put our name on it. New Kentucky Chicken Sandwich. An abundant triple-breaded filet, premium mayo and pickles, all in a buttered brioche bun. The best chicken sandwich had to be KFC.
The Department of Agriculture advises Cayman Brac residents of their plant sale on Saturday, March 26 from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at the agricultural grounds on Songbird Drive on the Bluff. A variety of herbs and spices, vegetable seedlings, and fruit trees will be available. Cash is required for all plant purchases. For more information, call 948-0522 or visit their Facebook or Instagram page at Agriculture Cayman.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And it's beautiful that we can have such a public discussion, and if our guests are like the ones we've been so grateful, Mr. Jeff always says, we find our guests deliberately. They just pick them up in the parking lot. So, Ms. Stephanie Santos, thank you for sharing with us, because the conversations continue during our breaks that help to not just inform, but they help to, perhaps educate us continually. Now, we never have the outtakes, so what happens during the break, hopefully, stays during the break. But as we went into the break, though, we were looking at different things that transpire. Maybe in closing, as we, 8 minutes or so in our show, maybe first let's ask, I've enjoyed this discussion. It helps me to look at how to improve and to be better, to be more sensitive, to be more sensible, but to reflect and see how I can offer value, not just to others, but to myself.
So if I can just say something about improving.
Yes.
This is a notion that when you use that unconsciously in your mind, it sends a message that your best self is far away over there.
Mm-hmm, okay.
When actually, that's what I say to clients. It's when you're not broken, you don't need to improve. You simply have to remove all those layers that are around your heart.
Okay.
Everything is inside, like literally.
But we built so many walls because of experience, right?
Well, it's just because we're born relationally dependent in a society that is not fully evolved yet. So that's why we put our needs aside. We disown it, and that's why we're so unhappy, and we go through life thinking that, okay, the next, I'm doing this because at the end of the year I can go there or I can do that. And
I think, I think therefore I am? No. I think that through our discussion today, there are many of us now, like the caller earlier, for whom what we've shared resonates, but for whom it is now an opportune time to take a next step, to figure out, how do I explore this thing? You said don't improve, remove that which has denied our happiness or our success. But we are maybe fearful of being judged and condemned, fearful of we're not quite sure, where this is going to take us. It could be, again, that trip that we wanted to go to that place that we wanted to see forever. For some of us, we've lived all our lives on Grand Cayman, but we've never been to Cayman. We've been to other countries, right? We've seen other parts of the world, but even within our own country, Nice Cayman Airways flight to the Little Cayman, we haven't gone. Or we went once, but that was 50 years ago. right? For whatever reason. So maybe for them, this is that time now for them to take it. But if they wanted to reach out to you, I know you shared it earlier. Could I ask you again? I mean, people want to reach out to you and say, hey, what services do you offer? How do we benefit? How do we start this dialogue? What's the way that they reach out to you?
So it's via Facebook or Instagram. DNA Introspection or Collective Consciousness Cayman.
Okay.
And there's my contact detail. So it's 329-8674.
I appreciate that, because I think that we don't realize how much goes on in our lives, even the words that we share, even the things that we think we're doing because it's a good thing to do. We eat certain things and avoid eating certain things, or in certain quantities at certain times. We exercise. We have, perhaps even proper instruction. But maybe is there more, and fulfilling way? And is there stuff that we're lacking and don't realize it?
Well, every time you're going to feel like you're being challenged, basically. It's like when people say, "Oh, I have to." They say, "I have to do that." Do you really have to? Because nobody can remove like that free will from you. Someone can put pressure on you, so you give up your free, not giving up. You're giving up your free will. But if you start replacing by "I want to" instead of "I have to," your life can really change. Because if you say like, "Oh, I have to do that work because I have to pay the bill," start changing by "I want to go to work."
Even if it's the same job.
Yeah, but just change and just feel how uncomfortable that is. It's like, hell no, I don't want to go to work. Then allow yourself again to go to the end of that road.
Okay.
It's like, what's going on with that job? Is it really what I like to do? Why am I like just feeling so unhappy when I wake up to do that job as whatever it is? So,
and this is something that I hear a lot of people say, and I'm again not going to share it to be offensive, but I don't apologize for it. We hear people say, fake it until you make it. I don't subscribe to that. I don't like to be fake. The honest, cold hard truth sometimes hurts because it's the truth. But to me, I prefer that approach.
Well, healing can be very scary because it actually means that it makes your hell much closer. And this is a fact. If you want to go through your healing, you have to face your hell first.
Wow.
And this is why there are so many people that's going to, like, "Oh, yeah, let's do some healing. I'm going to live my best life." And, well, it's not a walk in the park. Because you're going to be uncomfortable. Things that you think are you, your personality, you're going to realize that a lot of it is not you. And it's very common for my clients to come one day and say, like, "You know what? It feels like I don't even know who I am." Great. Now we can start.
So you're going through hell. Keep going. Don't stop. It's not a party.
Well, it's not that. It's like, face it. Don't run away from it.
Yeah. Keep progressing.
I mean, talking about, like we say hell, I'm talking about all those challenging situations and so on.
Right.
You're not happy, like, just sit in it. But we got so conditioned to run away from it or just put a icing of positivity onto it.
The escapism approach. Okay.
Or it's like, no, but look, you can't. Why are you unhappy? You've got everything. You've got all the toys. You've got... Like, invalidating a child is terrible as well. It just isolates the kid even more.
Right. So know your worth, own your truth.
Yeah.
And
learn your truth.
Yeah,
learn your truth, because you knew what it was like way, way, way back, and everything was made for you to be sidetracked from it.
So have a certain je ne sais quoi.
So je ne sais quoi, bien sûr.
You see, this is where I think as we embrace what is the resource within our shores, we can be better.
Yeah, being human, it's about embracing the whole spectrum of emotions, because all emotion, jealousy, envy, happiness, fear, they are your inner compass. And we are not going to get any better if we keep rejecting aspects of emotions. This is our inner compass, and they guide us towards our best self and this alignment with your body, mind, and soul.
Right. Well, Ms. Stephanie, has been, as usual, an incredible pleasure to not only speak, but to learn from you. And the laughter has been amazing as well.
Thank you.
So may I invite you to have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy. And to our listeners, you can revisit us on YouTube if you so choose. Thanks to DJ Lynn for facilitating today's production. And to our listeners, we want to invite you to join Mr. Art come Monday morning for the record. And come back for Talk Today right after the midday news and midday meditation. But may I invite you as you go into the weekend to do a number of things. Look within and appreciate and value who you are. Respect that you are an incredible being with great things to offer. And you are poised to make even better steps forward so that life brings greater joy and fulfillment. All right, well, this is what it's about, learning your truth and loving life. Right, Ms. Stephanie?
Absolutely.
Until Monday, my friends, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, Tourism and Transport. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. MedLab in Smith Road Plaza, your complete medical laboratory solution. Call 949-7331. And Savannah Pharmacy in Countryside Shopping Village, convenient opening hours including Sundays and holidays.